Sometimes in life you've got to take a few risks, and I've come to a point in my photography career anyway, that I'm going to have to take another one. Big news this, well, big news for me anyway. I'm going to be moving my gallery space that I've ran for the last 6 years. I'm going to be moving it to a much bigger unit. And if I'm perfectly honest, I'm a little bit worried. I'm on my way to work now, so let's go and talk about it in the gallery.
I'm Stuart McGlennon, and if you're new here, I'm a professional landscape photographer, and for the past 6 years have ran my own landscape photography gallery here in the heart of the Lake District, Keswick.
You alright?
Oh, hello. How are you doing? Do you want to be on the camera?
Now, Keswick's had its troubles of late, and like many towns in the UK, are struggling post-pandemic, where the signs of the failing economy are for all to see. Now, one thing I've learned over the past 6 years running a small business is a lot of things are about timing, and I'm hoping my timing is spot on, and I'm choosing to take the bold step of moving my gallery in the hope of building bigger. But before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit about the origins of my current gallery.
So I got my start in this gallery way back in 2016, which feels like a lifetime ago, to be honest. And that was under the previous owner, Jed Gray. Now, Jed owned the building and he ran the gallery as an offshoot to his B&B business. So he wasn't actually a photographer, he was a curator. And I'll be eternally grateful to Jed, to be honest, because he took a chance on my work back then when a lot of other gallery owners wouldn't have. I'd only actually been taking pictures for about 6 months at that point. So I don't know what gave me the confidence to take my work to a gallery so early on in my photography. I guess probably just blind naivety, really. The gallery looked very different back then to what it does now. I'll show you a couple of the pictures on the screen. It's actually had another photography owner, a guy called Mike Pearson, lovely fella who is retired now, and he's getting on in years, Mike, but he's keen as ever in terms of getting out into the outdoors. And I see him now and again in Keswick, and he's always interested in what I'm shooting. He had the gallery about 12 years ago, maybe something like that, under the name Mike's Eye, which if you've been to Keswick for a lot of years, you might remember, I don't know. And then when Mike retired, Jed took it over. So it's been a photography gallery under different guises, but it's an interesting old building, this. One thing I won't miss about it is the low beams. I've had a couple of comments in person, actually, when I was at the photography show. A lot of people saying, oh, you're taller than you appear in your videos. I think I need to do more stuff away from the camera. But for anyone who's interested in boring statistics, I'm 6 foot. So I'm not a midget, but I probably need to do more video stuff where I'm, stood away from the camera. But anyway, there's an image behind me that was crucial to my photography development. We'll talk about that in a sec. There's an image on the wall over there, and I was talking about this image in my recent newsletter. If you're not subscribed to that already, please go and subscribe, link in the description. And I guess I'd never really thought about this in the past, but that image really changed my life in many respects, because it was the first image that I had in the gallery with Jed that sold really well. It was the first kind of image that I'd made that I guess had a bit of crossover appeal, if you like, with a tourist crowd, rather than just making images that purists liked and the photography in crowd liked. But also it's testament to that, you know, great conditions and light being far more important than gear. Now, I'm not going to trot out the stuff about gear not mattering and all that. There's definitely times when gear does matter. But in landscape photography, great conditions will always trump that. And it was shot, I think I've talked about this before in other videos, but it was shot on a god-awful lens. A really, really soft super zoom lens. I think it was a Tamron 28-300, and it was a crap lens. But it was all I could afford at the time. And when I shot that image, it was late in the evening, light was low, very windy, and those conditions didn't last very long. I didn't have time to set the tripod up, basically, so set the thing at infinity focus and handheld stitched pano, and shot the images and just prayed, basically. And the fact that these individual frames stitched together and everything was sharp is an absolute miracle to this day, to be honest. But it's one of my favourite images, and as I said, took back in 2016, and it still holds up now because it's a great image and the conditions are amazing. So yeah, that image really changed my life in many respects, and it gave me a foot in the door into selling my work and also establishing a connection with Jed and this gallery, because if I hadn't done that, then I really wouldn't have ended up where I am now. So that image there, I've got a lot to be thankful for. Okay, do you want to see the new place? I'm gonna get out of here because I don't know if you can hear that. Just one sec. And that, folks, is why I'm going to a new place. Should we go and have a look at it? Let's go. Okay, so welcome to the new space. This is the new spot, and as you can probably tell, it's a lot bigger and a lot more spacious, which is great for displaying the artwork. You'll notice I've got a different jacket on and it's a bit brighter outside. I've had to film this over a couple of days. I'm sure you don't care about that. But yeah, what a difference this place is. This wall here is about 7 meters long, I think. And then this one, I'll just turn you around to where the camera's facing. That wall over there is about 6 meters long. 3 meter high ceilings, which are a world away from the ones in my old gallery where I was banging my head constantly. What I've got planned for that big wall, what I'll do is I'll probably have 2 rows of panoramic images stacked up. And then on that wall over there, I'll probably have more sort of traditional 3x2 or portrait orientated images on that wall. And then this wall over here, now it's hard to sort of get across the size of these things using a it's an Action 4, not a GoPro. But that's also quite a big wall. What I'm going to do with that wall is use it for like a feature wall and have a really big kind of statement print over in that corner. And then in this corner, this is where the desk area is going to be. You can see there I've just put a bit of masking tape on the floor to mark off the size. What I'm also going to have over here is a TV that's going to have like a rolling display of artwork and marketing material around workshops and other bits and pieces, just to kind of promote the business and that sort of thing. Looking out, you can see here, big windows much bigger windows. Well, I'm saying windows plural. I've only got one window in the old place, but yeah, these windows are much bigger. Loads of space again to display the artwork better. So yeah, I'll just spin you around so you can see the full sort of space here. That little area there marked off in the middle is going to be an area for like a sort of island area. You know, like the kitchen islands you can get. That's going to be an area to display smaller prints, and then either side of this island I'm going to have a couple of benches so you can sort of sit down and look at the artwork, and also a place for people who maybe aren't interested in the artwork so much but just want a place to sit down where the family or friends are looking at it. We've all been in that situation where we've been dragged into a shop that we don't want to be in and we just want to sit down. So a couple of benches either side there will be a nice touch as well. I'll take you upstairs. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so this is the upstairs. It's as big, pretty much, as the downstairs. Now this area at the minute is classed as storage. Now I'm not that clued up on building regs and commercial rates and all that sort of thing, but at the minute I don't think I can use this for commercial use because if I did, it would then become rateable and it would then increase my business rates costs. Now I'm going to check that because if I can use it commercially without it hiking my business rates up, then this has got a lot of potential. It really has. In the short term, I'll use it for storage, but in the long term, there's a lot of potential here. Even if I don't use it for displaying artwork and stuff, I can run classes from here. I can have all sorts of uses for it. Maybe partly a YouTube studio, I don't know. But a lot of potential up here. Now, at the minute, you can see that there's some patching up work being done here. That's because the current landlords are soundproofing the walls. Next door to me is a bar, and in the evenings they play music and stuff. Now, I'm not going to be here generally at that time of the day, so it's not that big of a deal for me. But even through the day, there's a bit of sort of general noise that comes through from as you'd expect from a restaurant. So they're taking steps to kind of mitigate that a bit for me, which is obviously much appreciated. But in the long term, if I'm going to use this as a commercial space, then the soundproofing will obviously help. Now I'll just walk you through here. Also upstairs here is another office room. Now again, these are going to need kind of tidied up a little bit and all that to make them usable, but they're in pretty good state, to be honest. Liquor paint, sorting the floors out, that sort of thing, and they'll be ready to go. Now, one thing I didn't touch on before, but has been a big motivator in me moving to this place. I'll try and keep this brief because I don't want to sort of bore you, but a big factor in me moving is my son, because I've touched on this briefly in the past about my son Rory, who is autistic, and he's got sort of severe learning difficulties, and currently he goes to a special needs school, which is absolutely fantastic and totally catered to his needs. But in 7 years' time, I think it's 7 years' time when he finishes, he'll basically be with me and my partner, because unfortunately it's highly unlikely Rory will ever be able to live independently. Now, for myself and my partner, we both make a good living. But one of the downsides for me going full-time years ago was I gave up a healthy pension working in the nuclear industry, and there's also an element of insecurity with being self-employed. When my son finishes school, there's a high likely that one of us is going to have to give up work and be his carer. That will probably be me. Now, where I was in the old gallery, that would have to happen basically, because there's no scope for me to bring Rory to work with me and kind of watch him. Here, because we've got this massive upstairs area and there's a lot of potential to maybe build a space for him, I can potentially carry on my photography career, and there's a viable, route to that. Whereas in the gallery that I'm in at the minute, there's no chance, basically, and I would have to give up photography in 7 years. So that's been a big motivator in me moving here, the potential for him to be able to come to work with me and me be able to carry on my photography. But we'll head back downstairs. I just want to go through a couple of other bits with you. So just coming downstairs here, there's another little section just in front of us here. Now the action camera is going to make this look smaller than it is, but these walls here will make an ideal space to present kind of themed work because it's sectioned off. The previous owners were New Balance, and they would have used that area for storage or whatever, but I've got a lot of work that I can't display at the minute because I just don't have the space. Black and white, close-up work, abstract, loads of Scottish stuff, Leforton work, all of that, I haven't got the space. That section there will be ideal for that. So in the short term, what I think I'm going to do is display some of my non-Lake District based work in there. Part of the problem I've got in that other spot is a lot of people come in and just think all I do is photograph the Lake District. I've got loads of other work going back years, but as I say, I can't display it. It's on the website, of course, but a lot of customers you'll often find aren't motivated enough to then leave the gallery and go and look at your website. The really keen people will, but your casual tourists generally won't. So you need to have the stuff on display because that's where you're going to get the sales. Now, the market for that kind of work isn't as big, obviously, as the Lake District-based work, but there is a market there nonetheless, and I'm not sure how many thousands of pounds I'm losing out on each year because I just can't display my other types of work. So that's going to be a themed area, I think. And then possibly in the future, I may look at things like working with other photographers and running exhibitions and that sort of thing. But I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of my new space. I'm going to do a couple of follow-up videos to this, showing you how I'm going to get it ready, choosing the artwork for display, that sort of thing. Right, I need to get back to my old gallery and open up, but I hope you've enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more stuff from the gallery. I'll catch you later.